Hello! It is time for Fantasy High Five. Finally, I am very sorry that it took so long between not only 3 and 4, but then 4 and 5. This series has taught me something very valuable about the difference between pre-recorded content and like streamed content, which is most of what I'm familiar with at this point. I want to thank you for being so patient and understanding. I have not seen a lot of the Fantasy High subs flee in the absence, and I truly do appreciate that. So I'm going to be prioritize filming it on the back end. But then also after Fantasy I5, I'm going to try to film 6 and 7 and get both of them edited and basically ready to post, and then, post 6. I normally don't do that sort of thing because it makes the takeaways a little bit not less genuine, but it is then hard to naturally talk about things in the pre-show or the theorizing or the takeaways or whatever when I have seen more of the series. But truly, I think that's just kind of a skill I need to learn, is partitioning that sort of stuff. And making more notes about my thoughts so that I can talk about those during the pre-stream. So I'm going to try that, to try and give it a little bit more of a buffer. I'm going to try to stay one episode ahead always. And so when I release 6, I will have 7 in the bank, and then I will film and edit 8 before we release 7. And hopefully that'll kind of be the cycle that we can get into. That way, again, you guys can have a more consistent release schedule. Because I know that has been basically the main complaint of the series thus far, and I totally get it. So that's currently what I'm going to try to do to address that. Sweet. Well, with that, we'll have talked about, my takeaway and shit from episode 4 already during the kind of pre-stream, because I think I'm still going to do a pre-stream. So with that, let's hop into episode 5.
Hello and welcome back to Fantasy High. My name is Brandon Lee Mulligan. We're back with our intrepid adventurers here in the town of Elmville in the nation of Solace and the world.
Also, I've started to, I guess, confirm or deny if I'm wrong here, but I have come under the impression from Shorts comments that the party is known as the Intrepid Adventurers, as a proper noun type title. Is that correct? I saw something about the Intrepid Adventurers did X, Y, and Z. And I was like, that's a interesting way to refer to them. And then I just heard Brennan do it right here. So I'm assuming that Intrepid Adventurers is their party title in the same way as Vox Machina might be for the Critical Role players and characters in Campaign 1.
Essentially, this is a crystal whose all of the identifying nature of it has been scraped off in some way, and then trapped inside it is a girl.
What?
I don't know. I mean, it seems very odd. I don't know how a person could get trapped inside a crystal, but...
Could you talk to her?
No, she just was, sad inside
Sorry,
it.
so there's just a girl pressed up against the edge of this crystal?
You're saying that as if we don't live in a world where magic is
Oh,
real.
okay, no, well, all right. I've just never experienced putting people inside of small balls.
I mean, you can put people inside of all kinds of things. I just have never
I threw
seen
up in
this.
your backpack yesterday.
Yeah,
Or today, this morning.
I mean, that's not the same. I feel like
That's
you're
very
trying to make
much not
that
the
sound
same.
analogous.
I think
It's
it's
really not.
I'm a goblin.
Yeah.
Basrar wends his way, tornadoing, dust deviling through the fountain shop, comes up with a whole bunch of ice creams and things. My friends, welcome one and all. Here you go. Can I get you anything?
Dude, this is, I will say, I think that Siobhan's reaction was very funny there, of him being like, what, you're saying there's a girl in a ball? And she's like, yeah, man. You're acting like we don't live in a world where that happens. And I think that's actually a really interesting little actually, I want to rewatch it, actually, because that is, I feel like, very it's very interesting from both a world building and like a setting tone perspective and a character work perspective, because Lou is just a purely non-magical dude. Or, I mean, obviously, Lou Wilson is. Fabian. Fabian is a non-magical dude, so there is this aspect of character work there, of, you know, him being maybe less familiar with magic. But that's like that's also like a setting and tonal thing, is how familiar are our practitioners, or how do I say it? How familiar are people who do not practice magic? How familiar are they with magic? That's like a fundamental like setting tone thing. Wait, let me see.
Trapped inside a crystal, but
Could you talk to her?
no, she just was like sad inside
Sorry,
it.
so there's just a girl
It's just
pressed up against the edge of this crystal?
You're saying that as if we don't live in a world where magic is
Oh,
real.
okay, no, well, all right, I'm just...
And it's, oh man, that's so interesting. Because on one hand, like, I think that this world in particular, like maybe the world of Solace, but even more specifically, was it Elmville? Whatever, the current town that they are in, modeling like the 1970s, is, I do think, has like probably a substantial impact on something like this not necessarily like feeling as plausible, or like feeling maybe a little bit stranger, because right, they have things like the crystals, right, where they text each other and call each other, but that is so analogous to our current technology. Like, so much of the magic that we see is like, you can kind of analogize it to a gun. Like, you know, if someone throws out a scorching ray, that's not too different from a gun in our head, you know? And if you have all of the other magic, especially like permanent magic, if it models something like poison or electronics or, you know, metal detectors, I don't know, vehicles, right? It then becomes a little jarring when permanent magic does something that our modern technology cannot. Or maybe not jarring, but I do think it's like a little unexpected. It's like, oh, magic can like technology can't put a person inside of a little box that you can just carry around with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a current capability of technology. And there have certainly been things so far in this that are, you know, similar to that, but maybe nothing as like visceral. I fully think that like that might have been at first a little bit more of like a Lou reaction of like, well, that seems a little crazy for like what's going on right now. But then I think Siobhan in character reacts very poignantly, and like very appropriately if you're taking like all of the implications of the setting seriously. And then I think that Lou responds very, very well of like, oh, I've never experienced that. I've never pictured that. That's so different. Because it's different than the types of magics that, especially an average person probably would have seen thus far.
My friends, welcome one and all. Here you go. Can I get you anything else? Simply say the words, and your wish is my command.
I spiked my milkshake.
That is not allowed in here.
Why could you not wait 30 seconds?
Fine, I'll put it back, and then I try and pour the milkshake back into.
Gross. Okay.
Also, doesn't that flask have the friend spell cast on it?
I keep almost dosing myself.
All right. Well, I hope everything else is good. Let me know if I can get you anything at all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brasrar.
Yes, and of course, yes.
Can I do a perception check on this guy?
Sure.
I don't like his attitude.
Well, because he told you not to drink in his soda shop.
Yeah, I don't know about him. It's gonna be 14.
14. Basrar has a. I assume this is like an insight check, right? Not a
Yeah,
perception.
I want to get a read on this guy.
He has a deep sadness about him.
Aww.
Oh,
I am so curious to see if he has anything actually going on. I kind of assume he doesn't. And I was going to. I had my hand on ready to pause because I was going to pause and say that I think that Brennan does a good job of kind of keeping a rein on the pace of conversation. I think that he uses NPCs really well to break up what might be analysis paralysis or to like potentially jump in when they might be kind of devolving into joking territory. Or like, kind of circular joking territory, and kind of, gets things back on track with these NPCs. And I've noticed him do it several times of like, I think that's how he kept the pace so good in, I think it was episode 3, where they were kind of going throughout the school, is he would occasionally interject with these NPCs. And it really allows him to kind of get everyone back into the narrative. If they're either, again, kind of going too far into analysis paralysis, or they're maybe just kind of circularly joking and fucking around, which is great. You want to let your players analyze things. You want to let them joke around. But he has this really good timing of like, they've done that for a little bit. Like, here's an NPC to kind of get you back in. And doing it with an NPC especially really allows them to, not pulls them out, but it keeps them out of their character sheet, right? It keeps them in their character as he's like bringing them back into the narrative. It's very interesting. It's very like just impressive. And I'm pointing it out now because I think it's going to be a pattern. I don't think it's been like a few one-off circumstances, and now I'm going to be keeping my eye out for it and to see, like, especially how effective I think it is. But right now, it seems very effective. And I'm going to be watching, and I'm curious to see if it ends up being like a consistent kind of habit of his, like an effective habit, or if it's just been, a couple of these times it just so happened to work out that way. I don't know. But also, I mean, that's just the response is just Brennan's improv chops showing. That's not the saying that this guy has a deep sadness about him is analogous, I think, to when he responded to Gorgug's natural one insight on Coach Daybreak, saying, "This guy could be your dad." Like, like that sort of shit is not the kind of thing that I can point out as a strategy or as a heuristic or as something that you can like directly model at your table. If you want to capture that part of Brennan's DMing, you gotta go and take an improv class. That's it. That's it. Because I think that is truly just his hours and hours and like mastery of the craft showing there. There's no strategy. That is just, he is funny and he has so many hours in spent doing improv and being funny in an improvisational way. So if that's the part you want to emulate, go and take an improv class. You should go and take an improv class in general. Improv's super fun. Truly. I used to be in an improv troupe when I was in high school. Super fun. Builds a ton of confidence. Helps you think on your feet. Lots of ways that it's applicable outside of just D&D, but it's very applicable to D&D.
Kristen, can you see if it's like evil or something, or if that's
Yeah,
a friend
yeah.
that's in there?
I'll do. I will cast. I have detect magic, and then I think I have.
Can you just detect
good
evil?
and evil?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll cast detect good and evil on this. Oh wait,
Okay.
didn't we already do that?
I did detect magic, and that's how I saw that the girl was trapped
Oh,
inside
cool,
of
cool.
it.
Yeah.
But I don't
I
have
think we
detect
just want to make
good
sure
evil.
this isn't a demon person. That is.
Yes. Yeah, I would love to not let a demon person escape from a crystal,
Cool.
unless it's really wrong.
Yeah.
You go ahead and cast detect good and evil on it. You detect neither alignment. The creature trapped within here either is obscured from your magic's vision, or it does not possess a powerful aura of either celestial or infernal magic.
That's interesting. I like that. Well, I like two parts of that ruling. Number one, I'm always, not always, I guess, but I'm often a fan of things that can sort of break the rules in D&D. I was just talking to the developer of basic role-playing, Jason Durrell, and he talked about how D&D is an exception-based rule system. So there's like, standard rules, and then most things in D&D, like most features, allow you to break the rules in some clever way. Or maybe not most, but a lot of. And that is kind of how D&D implements that. And I think you can lean into that even heavier in your homebrew. So we have things like, detect magic is blocked by a certain amount of material. I think detect good and evil might be as well. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But I think, number one, making it to where things can counter those things, absolutely go for it. I think we're maybe, as DMs, sometimes too afraid to not just use the tools that are presented to us in the books, but the D&D makes it very, very clear that, like, for example, spells, that the spells that are listed and that are known in this are not even necessarily all of the spells that would be well known in your setting, and they are certainly not all of the spells that exist in all of creation, in all of your setting, especially like the rare ones. So I think that taking that mindset and taking it into like magic items, materials, techniques, is a really good way to create the potential for intrigue. And I like that Brennan gave kind of two possibilities, especially since we are in such kind of an intrigue-heavy plot line right now of like, what's going on with Johnny Spells? What's going on with the girls? Like, what's this tea time business, right? We're in this very intrigue-heavy plot line. And so I really, really like him giving these like two possible explanations. Either this is a thing that is, blocking detect good and evil. That's something that they could go and ask a cleric about. That's something they may be able to go and ask the AV Club kids about. Like, oh, would this type of material block that manner of spell? Like, that is a very direct statement and thing that they can research and potentially find answers to narrow down. And that feels like solving a mystery, right? When you have two options and you can very easily disprove one of them, that feels like you're solving something, right? That feels like you're making progress. It's like, okay, so it could have been either of these things, but we disproved one, so now we have, concluded, we've discovered that it is the other one. That's us making progress. That's that mystery, intrigue, like detective solving feel. To use a lot of words to describe it.
What about if I wish for ice cream later? So at a certain point,
I want to do that too.
I just
at some point in the next.
I just get an ice cream.
If you would like to wish for ice cream later at an undetermined time, yes, I can do that.
Then I would like to wish for us all to get ice cream later at an
We'll
undetermined
all
time.
get ice cream later at an undetermined time.
Holy shit. Siobhan Thompson the GOAT. Oh my god. That is that is just handing Brennan comedy on a silver platter. That's so sick. That's so sick. Especially because she could have. Right, let me present an alternate scenario to you, right? Siobhan could have said, oh, I would like ice cream, the next time I clap my hands, right? And so she would have had control over it. But by saying at an undetermined time gives Brennan full control over the dramatic and comedic timing of the ice cream. She also didn't specify any form that it would take, didn't specify how much it would be. I mean, that's just beautiful. That's I think something that is a common thread between Critical Role and Dimension 20 that I haven't exactly, I don't think I've necessarily called it out yet, or at least super explicitly as a common thread, is the level of trust. Because that's not even something that if you presented that to, any person, say a person going to an Adventurers League game, right, where you don't know anyone, so it's going to be hard to trust the other people at the table beyond a certain level because you just don't know them, right? You could present this scene to that person and they'd be like, oh yeah, that seems fine, I might do that. But I will put to you that I don't think they would ever naturally think of something like that, because the basic design of that request and of that beat is the idea of giving Brennan control, right? Of asking the GM for something and giving them full control over that delivery, right? And especially something where you get very little out of it, right? It's a funny ha-ha gag. But even as someone who, if you consider yourself funny, or, you've taken maybe a lot of improv classes, or you're a comedian, whatever. Even if you are funny, there's a difference between that and being funny, and giving someone else the opportunity to be funny, right? And it to me, it speaks to a level of trust within the performance and within the scene that I don't necessarily want to confidently say is rare, but I think is important. And really leaning into that trust as a DM, trusting your players, and as players trusting your DM as much as you possibly can is so important.
Hold on. I'm going to take a picture of what I just rolled for later.
Is it a 20?
I hope it's a 1 and not a 20. It's one or the other.
I think a 1 is much more.
It's a
worth
classic
taking
15.
Oh my god, it's such an interesting roll of 15.
You see that she looks at you and says, oh my god, Johnny Spells is outside right now?
Yeah, some guy, or we don't really know him. We
think
saw
it's
some
Johnny's-
guy on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Oh my god, thank you guys so much for telling me. I super appreciate it. And you see that she turns tail and runs out the other hallway.
Knock, knock, get out, Riz.
The ball.
The ball.
I try to see if there's any false walls or anything in there.
You got
Like,
nothing, baby. That
fucking
nat
nothing.
one.
All right, get out.
Cool. You duck out. I'm gonna need everyone here to make a wisdom saving throw. if you'd be so
Ooh,
kind.
shit.
Why?
Am I there? Are we all there?
Ooh, 3. Wait, plus 2, 5.
17. 9.
10.
12.
What's my wisdom
5.
Cool.
save? 13.
Dope. That's it. We'll move on. You guys
Shit.
head off. You guys head off down the hall towards the AV club.
Dude, speaking of trust at the table, damn, if you do not like trust your DM and trust that he's going to, like, if you're Zach here and you don't fully trust Brennan that he will like give Gorgug the opportunity for an interesting story, this feels terrible. It's awesome. Like, it's a really nice moment of like consequences and interpersonal drama, but also making one of your players' characters the outsider loser based on not that many choices, and choices that like really stem from like wanting to help other members of the party, right? It's amazing drama. Like it's really, really good like plot and narrative about like, oh, you helped someone and now you're taking the social fall for it, essentially. That's great drama. Feels a little bit weirder and worse to like live through and act through, unless again you have trust that your character will at least have an opportunity for vindication, or potentially will essentially be able to take on this role of like the sin eater, right? Like, I will take on all of the social repercussions for our party, and you guys will all know what a, you know, essentially great person I am. Like, if Zach wants to go down that route, or if he wants social vindication, like either way, you kind of need to have trust in Brennan that he is going to let you progress one way or the other, because just staying here would be terrible. It would be not very fun to play through. But it is a low in a narrative arc that can lead to some really cool highs. But man, oh man, yeah, you gotta have that trust. You gotta have that trust. If Zach did not trust Brennan here, it would be very awkward and probably not very fun. But I think, again, we can see the trust at the table with Zach responding to all of this with like, hey guys, I'm excited to be here. Like, continuing just to play Gorgug, which is great.
Don't super bring him around all the time.
All this stuff is so cool.
I feel like he's kind of. I feel like if anything, he actually might fit in real well with like us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe he would, but also like, one of the things is this, like AV, we kind of like of the like clubs at school, we kind of have like a bad boy mystique that kind of feeds into us, because like it takes a lot of fucking skill to like work these machines, and people kind of look at that and they're like, that's dope.
Right.
And if Gorgug's here, he's kind of like a freaky weirdo who like creeps on people and steals their stuff.
Here's the thing about Gorgug, though. He's got something really fucking cool that only me, you, and Gorgug can look at.
You see that he looks over and goes,
Oh man, and again, it's this even Brian right now, or sorry, Murph. Even Murph right now is leaning into that soul eater, like he is also leaning into this conflict of Gorgug. He knows what a good guy and a good person Gorgug is, and Brennan is now presenting Riz specifically, the one that Gorgug took the fall for, with the repercussions of Gorgug's actions. Like, Penelope did not say anything about Gorgug to Fabian or Fig, right, in the hallway. And part of that could have been because of the, the deception, everything that was going on. But, like, she's the one that theoretically would have had the biggest reaction to Gorga because she was actually there when he did the freaky thing, right? But she doesn't. The AV Club has the reaction, and they present this false reality of Gorgug to, again, the person that Gorgug took the fall for. And so it's another like social repercussion, social navigation for Riz of how do I defend this person that took the fall for me, or do I not? Do I throw my friend under the bus, the one that took the fall for me, in order to get more in with the social circle? Fabian would do that. Fig would probably do that. Will Riz do that? Especially when they have such a direct connection. It's a great opportunity for him to define his character, and Gorgug, again, as this sort of sin eater, is an amazing facet of the party here that allows for so many cool interactions. And again, if you don't have trust between the DM and the player here, you'll never get this, right? This is such a cool facet of the Fantasy High Intrepid heroes that you cannot get if you don't have trust. It's really cool. It's really cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if he's got dope stuff, yeah, let's take a look. You see, it says, "Can I show Shelfer
What
and
is
Scrank, or
this?
should it just be us?"
I think
Okay.
it should probably just be us.
Cool.
I'm gonna
Type you give
chill.
this
I'm
in.
gonna chill at the front of the door toward wherever they're hanging out, almost like a bouncer. So like if anyone else tries to come in, they gotta get past
I'm
me.
gonna go with you.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Staff. And I'm just gonna put the staff like sideways on the door. Like,
And I'm just gonna play with a lighter.
Awesome. So you see that you, Biz, and Gorga go into a corner. Biz goes, "Hey, dude.
Hey.
Cool. So, my man Riz here."
And oh man, it's you even I don't want to say this too confidently, right? Because I don't know what's going on in Brennan's head. I don't want to speculate too much, but I would hazard a guess that we just saw Brennan realize an opportunity and go back on something that he and go back on his gut. Because right before Fig interrupts, Brennan starts to say, as Biz, "Can we show Sheldon?" Right here.
If he's got dope stuff, yeah, let's take a look. You see, it says, "Can I show Shelfer
What
and
is
Scrank?"
this?
Right, he says, "Can I show Shelford?" And then there's this little interruption where they go and play bouncer essentially.
And I'm just gonna play with a lighter.
Awesome. So you see,
And then he says, so you see Biz, Gorgug, and Riz go into the corner, right? He doesn't follow through on "Can I show Shelford?" And again, I don't want to read his mind, but clearly something changed there. He decided to not go forward with having Biz want to show the other AV Club members. And if I had to speculate as to why, there's an amazing kind of road here where, again, I've said it several times now, the Sin Eater opportunity, which I guess I should more rigorously call out what I mean by that. It's this a Sin Eater is a person who consumes a ritual meal in order to spiritually take on the sins of a deceased person. You also have examples of animal sacrifice, right? In antiquity, it was very common for people to think about putting all of the sins into an animal and then sacrificing that animal to essentially get rid of the community's sins. That's a invocation of the Sin Eater trope. And Gorgug here, I think Brennan is now offering Gorgug a path towards that if he wants it, where a few people, like a very, very small group, like the Intrepid Heroes and a few other NPCs, know that he is a really good person. But he continues to take the fall for things. He continues to be the social outcast, and he understands that people have to make, excuses for him because he's the fall guy, and he takes that role on. Or this also gives the opportunity for social vindication. If he convinces Biz that he's a great and cool person, and not the fucking freak that everyone thinks he is, Biz might start to spread that. He might start to basically spread like a counter rumor, depending on what route it seems like Zach wants to take Gorgug. Does Zach continue to use Gorgug as the fall guy, right? Does Zach, when other opportunities for Gorgug to take the fall present themselves, does Zach continue to latch on to those? Or does he do a lot of work to, and when he's presented with opportunities to rehabilitate his image, potentially, does he latch on to those, right? And giving Biz, specifically, just Biz, the knowledge of Gorgug's real personality, of his real persona, that he's not a freaky freak, progresses us in either direction. And the way that Gorgug interacts with Biz is very important for that. Whereas if you introduce him to a bunch of people, it starts to potentially lock off the Sin Eater route, right? If too many people know that he's not a freaky freak, then he can no longer be the fall guy, right? It's not going to work with him as a fall guy. If you start to blame him for things, people will stop believing you. And so his status as a Sin Eater degrades. And so locking it to just Biz, not Biz and Sheldon that go into this corner, it keeps the possibility for either route open, depending on what Zach chooses to do in the future.
It turns on a little weird centrifuge engine, and this crystalline blue energy fills up the palimpsest. And you see a spectral form of Sam Nightingale, deep within the crystal, reflected hundreds and hundreds of times over. Biz looks at it horrified, goes, "Oh my God, how did you guys get this? What did you guys do? I don't want any."
What is it?
You see, he says, "Okay, look, he sort of like holds his eyebrow and goes, so, okay, every crystal, right, is logged with the Council of Chose. There's a special bureau of it that's dedicated to arcanotech safety, right? So every crystal is unique, right? And there's a way to kind of scry on it or find it if people do stuff with it, right? So this has been turned into a palimpsest, right? All that stuff's been scrubbed out. So a normal dream crystal is only capable of holding like certain amounts of data or information, right? Like textual information, or it's able to run certain cantrips or run certain spells that have certain applications, right? So that most of the companies that buy and sell crystals, they have very limited use, right? But the dream crystal in its natural state is capable of holding vastly more information than just sensory data, light, sound, things like that. A crystal can hold kind of anything. And I had sort of never seen it fully developed or tested, but it appears that this crystal is holding a soul.
So now whoever's in on it in the faculty, Coach Motherfucking Daybreak, is going to install all the dream crystals. Either they'll be palimpsests when they're installed, or they will be turned into palimpsests like overnight, and then everyone walks into school. Palimpsests activate. Maybe they mix some of the tea into lunch, or whatever. And then palimpsests suck up all the souls. Mark my words. Mark my fucking words. That's what's going on.
Well, so how do we get her out?
Well, I know how to like get like music off of like your mobile crystal onto your like home crystal.
So you're useless? Is that what you're telling us? You're useless?
Sorry, far from useless, milady. I could get her out. I could definitely get her out if you could.
Definitely just don't kill her, but yeah, if you can get her
No,
out.
I would. Well, that's the thing is there's no.
What do you think you could do to get her out?
I would need like more. I would need like better equipment than what the school has.
What place
Yo.
has better equipment?
Oh, beautiful. You know what place has better equipment? The Council of the Chosen, baby. Ooh, we're going to go to the council hall. Guarantee it. I don't guarantee it. Maybe somewhere else. But great. Okay. I love this specifically because of the high magic setting that we find ourselves in, right? I think that broadly, high magical settings are broadly more engaging when they still abide by things like places of power or complex rituals, right? So, and when I say places of power, I mean like ley lines or a magical glade, right? Where especially powerful magic is locationally locked, or requires very complex, very expensive, very complicated rituals in order to enact. So I really love this. I love this idea that like the AV Club, the frankly most technologically advanced people that we've seen in this setting so far, are just like, yeah, like I can see what's going on, but I need better equipment. I need a better location. I need a better place of power. And assumingly those machines needed a big ritual or a lot of people to work together to build them, and that is why they are rare. That is why they are scarce, we might say. They might even need like multiple people to upkeep them, which is why you can't have one in a fucking school AV club, right? So I like this choice a lot because this is obviously a very, it's evoking modern, it's what I would call high magic. But Brennan is still restricting the highest magic. Even though the setting is broadly high magic, it is low level magic that is so, kind of pervasive and common, but that high level magic, that reality warping type of magic that can capture souls, that is still scarce, and it allows the setting and the situation to still feel constrained and believable. Yeah, big thumbs up.
Okay, do you mind telling me if you're trying to enlist me in a covert operation?
Yes, you're our hacker.
Yes, dude! Fucking did it, dude! Yes! Oh yeah!
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, you're not in our adventuring party.
I'm a part of the
He's a
team.
You're not a
hacker.
part of the
He's a
adventuring
hacker.
party.
You're the man in the chair,
7 of
bro.
us versus the world.
Nice. He's a hacker.
All of us.
So I'm like the man in the van, right? Like I'm your guy in the sky, kind
There
of
you
like
go.
I am like in over here, and we're like pow 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 pow, like
Yeah.
dude, this is so friggin' rules. This is so friggin' rules, dude.
Right. Okay. So hacker,
Hacker.
where do you think we could get equipment that would be better?
Okay. I can get started with what I have. Although I probably should do it on school property because weird stuff's been happening at the school, right?
Right.
So I can get started with what I have. If you guys could talk to like Gorgog's parents or to see if they have any dream crystal equipment. I'm sure they do their tinkers, right?
Yeah.
Basically, Andy, what I really need is like a power source. I need like a machine because I can do a lot of the processes, but I don't have enough juice like on my crystal at home. So any kind of power source you can get me is going to be like super helpful.
What kind of a power source?
I don't know.
Okay, so it's actually not exactly what I thought. It's not that there are places of power, it's that there are materials of power, right? Very, very, Brandon Sanderson, Mistborn. Yeah, there are materials of power. He needs raw energy in order to enact this, right? And that energy must be, scarce. Or maybe, it scales up like exponentially. So even if the energy itself is not technically scarce, a large quantity of it altogether is very scarce. As long as there is some manner of scarcity that prevents that high-level magic from being easy to do. I think it super works. And beyond all of the setting and world building stuff, it's great plot hooks. It's really, really good plot hooks of like, okay, now the party has a fucking quest. Talk to Gorgug's parents, get a better power source. And even if Gorgug's parents do not have the power source, they might know of a place to get the power source, but they are going to have their own take on the situation. They might not want Gorgug to get involved. That's, let me say it with me, that's drama. That is narrative drama. Is now they either have to do independent research or they have to go and tell Gorgug's parents that they need a power source that Gorgug's parents will inevitably know is needed to do high-level magic or run these very complicated, very, potentially dangerous magical processes. And I think it's very likely that they will not want Gorgug involved. Plot hooks. Fucking narrative drama.
Maybe I'll just say like, fuck. Should we say like, I think we should just say like. I can't go into it now or something.
Yeah, just like it takes more than a few high schoolers to defeat me or something.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
they might
yeah.
not know it was high schoolers. That might give them a clue.
Okay.
but I think you're on the right path. I mean,
I've crashed my bike before. Or
Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
you just said, tell you later?
Yeah.
I think it's just
more
like,
vague, more
too
ambiguous.
much. I'm
Daddy-o,
just
the
gonna say
story is
too much.
wild.
Yeah. Daddy-o, the
Too
story.
much, we have a problem with
is-
Sam.
Oh, okay. Daddy-o, too much for text. We have a problem with Sam.
Make a deception check with advantage if you'd be so kind.
Thank God. 20.
Yes.
You roll a one
Very
first?
cool.
No, 4. What was it?
Oh,
4.
The response you get back is, no shit. Meet up at the pit instead of tea time.
Ooh. So we know it'll be a Friday.
At 10?
At the black pit?
The pit instead of tea time.
I forgot.
Fascinating, because they didn't know where to go for tea time. So now they've got a location and a date. Nice. Brennan's doing a great job at modeling like an investigation plotline, like an intrigue plotline. This is great. They got the time, and then through successful like impersonation and deception, now they've got a place. Ooh, very nice. Very nice. And Brennan is like parsed out all of the things that they would need to solve it. Like he is taken the things that they would need to solve it and segmented them out into all of these like different individual clues of the location, the place, the place, the time, the person that they're meeting. They don't know the person. the subject of what tea time is, right? Like, yeah. And he's rewarding their inferences, right? They inferred that this, that tea time probably had to do with Sam, and that the person that Johnny was meeting during tea time would know about Sam, right? Brennan did not explicitly connect tea time and the palimpsest. It's not a crazy leap in logic to make. It's not the most difficult inference in the world, but it is still an inference, and he directly rewarded them. The moment that they mention Sam, he gives them advantage on the deception, makes it more likely for them to gain even more information. By making an inference, it makes getting the other pieces of the clues easier. So fucking good. So good. I'm going to remember that shit. I'm going to remember that. Yeah.
Biz comes up, sees the huge crystal you guys are carrying, goes, oh boy, that'll do it. That'll do it. You want to bring that around to the backyard and I'll hook it in through the
We should go around back.
Yeah, if you just want to scoot around, because I don't think you can super fit. Do you want to like hunker down? I don't want, if anyone like drives by, I don't necessarily want them to see that you're here.
Can I sort of case
Why
the
are you
joint?
so mean to our friend?
What? He's not being mean. He
He
just
is
doesn't want
being
people to see
really
him.
mean.
While this is happening, can I
this
sort
is
of
what I'm
case the
talking about.
joint? I want to like make sure no one's spying on us, following
perception
us, or
check.
anything like that. Okay, 12. But like a really full 12.
Yeah, you don't notice anything out of the ordinary. He says, I'm sorry, all right? If you want to move that around that back, I'll plug it in through and I'll take a look at it.
But like, this is what I'm talking about, right? Like you think that you're a nice guy, but you've been so consistently really mean to my friend.
Wait, are you being mean to me?
Yeah, he's being really...
Wait a minute, that's not true. I've only been mean to people that I could be mean to and not catch shit for it.
Yeah, you hear what you're saying, right?
That didn't sound great as I said it. I heard it as I said it and realized that was bad.
Like people are dunking on you, and so you're dunking on the people below you.
Right.
Just no dunking.
Just like
overall,
we have
just
a
no
dunking.
dunk zone.
Within
Nobody
it,
I'm
dunks.
sorry,
This is a
dude.
no dunk zone.
I'm sorry, dude.
we have like a no
I
dunk
dunked on you.
policy.
I straight up, I
Wow.
You
slammed,
dunked on me?
I slammed dunked on you. And I'm
I
sorry.
had no idea.
It's okay, man.
Okay.
Okay,
It's
if you want to
okay,
bring that around
babe.
that side, I'll hook it in. Riz, if you want to come in, you're good. Everyone else, you are free to come in. It's like a little, you might break some stuff. So if you don't want to come in, you don't have to. But
I'll be on bouncer duty again.
Yeah, should somebody
I'm
watch
just
the
gonna
crystal?
pace. I'm gonna
Yeah, I'll
look
watch
like
the crystal.
I'm gonna pace
watch the
around the
crystal movie?
house like a
Okay.
German Shepherd and just scare anyone away.
I'd like
I really like Emily. Emily, like, kind of going after this, almost like an archetype. Well, not an archetype. She is kind of laying out a standard, almost like pattern of behavior or technique for her character, which I don't think is necessary within a lot of parties, but especially in a 6-person party where people have, different strengths, different weaknesses. Fig is very active in like normal, or not normal, but in like social situations. She was very active with Penny. She was very active during the when they were talking to Gorgug's parents. She's active in situations where essentially like her charisma matters, and where she feels like, she's at least on like equal footing with all of the other characters in terms of the relationships in the scene. So she kind of steps back during the AV Club scene where Riz takes the forefront, and then also Adon and Gorgug. And you can just step back, like broadly, which is kind of what Fabian did, Fabian/Lou, during the AV Club scene. But Emily is starting to, again, kind of establish this pattern of behavior of, oh, during like the nerd shit sequences, I am not going to be of a lot of direct assistance. So I will, act as a bouncer, bodyguard, whatever. I'm casing the joint. I'm looking out for someone who might be, spying on us. And that is a way, number one, helps define Fig's character. Good character work. Like, teaches us about it, is like solid, consistent role play to express her values. But secondarily, from a sort of game flow perspective, it really helps with sort of, how exactly do I say this? It helps with focus during a scene. Because with so many people and characters in the party, especially if you're not, really consistently splitting the party, there are so many cooks in the kitchen that it is really nice if you can find an excuse to take yourself out of the kitchen when you're not going to be overly useful, so that then the DM does not have to, consistently address you, see if you have anything to mention. The other characters in the scene don't have to, acknowledge you. Again, thinking back to the AV Club scene, Lou did not, narrate Fabian doing anything because he didn't have much for Fabian to do. But then, halfway through, Brennan has to kind of go back to Fabian and be like, oh, this is kind of what's going on with you. That takes up some time. And this isn't a negative on Lou at all, or on Fabian here. It's hard to always be thinking about that, and sometimes you don't want to jump in and say, oh, my character's doing this. So that's why I find this establishing of patterns that Emily's doing with Fig to be so good and useful, because now the more she kind of does this, the more it starts to be expected, and she can just establish it really quickly. If we come into another similar scene where they're again doing nerd shit, she can just be like, hey, I'm gonna go on guard duty, and everyone's like, yup, we know what that means. You don't have to you start to have to give less and less explanation without it losing its kind of role play potency, if that makes sense. If she just said it that quickly right now, or the first time, if she was just like, I'm gonna go on guard duty, everyone would be like, what exactly does that mean? I kind of get it, but it would feel a little bit low, I feel a little bit shallow. But because she has done it repeatedly, and she's given a little bit more explanation of a German Shepherd, I'm kind of scouting, I'm pacing, I'm patrolling, she's building up this idea of what it means for Fig to go on guard duty, essentially. And then in the future, she can just invoke guard duty, and that comes with all of that pre-established kind of role play and description and flavor that she's already pre-established. I don't think it's surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, but contrary to when I talked a lot about the efficiency stuff with Brennan in the first couple episodes, I actually think this is maybe a technique that it's still valuable in a limited series like this, but I think it's even more valuable in maybe a longer running campaign. Establishing patterns of behavior and techniques and strategies that you can just invoke very quickly, and they come along with a lot of, kind of predetermined meaning or pre-established meaning, that becomes incredibly useful in a long-term campaign. Even things like combat strategies, you can start to make a little playbook of oh, we're going to do the rubber band, and and everyone knows that means this segment of things. That stuff is super, super useful, especially in a long-term campaign with a bunch of players, but still very useful in a limited series. So it's just good. It's good shit.
Okay, you come on in. You guys come
But I'm
inside.
like full infernal mode.
Biz takes it downstairs, hooks the crystal up to this little brass wire. He goes, great, do you have the palimpsest?
I shout down from the window. I have the palimpsest.
Well, mademoiselle, if I may, can I please have the
Do you
palimpsest?
think Mademoiselle is better than Milady? It's not.
I'm sorry,
Wow,
I
she's
don't
really
think-
trying to fix
I'm
him.
really.
he snaps it
Everything's
in.
a project.
She
with
takes the
her.
palimpsest, snaps it in. I'm gonna make some rolls real quick.
These faces.
As he starts doing the crystal, you guys see a little, and a little smoke pops out of the palimpsest, and he goes, okay. I need to be a lot more careful.
Well, then
What happened?
do
What
so.
happened?
I messed something up a little bit. It's fine.
Can we do an insight check to see if he's...
Yeah, how bad is it?
Yeah, do an insight check.
That's very interesting to not only have because right, this NPC has, a certain amount of proficiency and, a certain expertise that the characters do not. So he's the only one that can do this. It's not like Brennan could have gotten the players involved. And like, I'm not against rolling for NPCs, but there's kind of two separate things here of like, that was a lot of rolling. Which, maybe it was like an disadvantage situation where, there was more dice rolled than actual checks made. Maybe it wasn't all 20s. Maybe like some of that was like percentile. I don't know. I think the reason that this feels a little strange to me, and I'm going to see like what exactly he means by like fucked it up, is that this feels like it is implying that the characters are taking the risky path with this, right? Of like, which to be fair, the power source that they got was a pretty simplified was a pretty simple process, right? It was not hard to get. They didn't have to make any rolls. It's not like they didn't even make any like deception checks with Gorgug's parents. They just kind of got it. They just had to go and ask. So I guess in a way, this was kind of the risky but easy path. But it's so far removed from the original decision point, although I guess maybe it's not. I think I understand why this feels so odd to me. Is number one, a lot of rolling going on here. So it's either like there's a lot going on behind the scenes that I think we could probably simplify. Like the reason that we have things like advantage and disadvantage is largely to do with player feel. Like advantage and disadvantage just feel good. So it would be a little bit strange for me if those checks were not all individual checks. So that's a lot of checks, which is very strange, very odd. And I think what's happening here is that there were multiple paths on what they could do with the palimpsest, right? And they debated those paths towards the beginning of the episode. And one of them, like, for example, was go and take it to the cops. And then the other one was, take it to this AV club nerd. And there were probably other paths besides those two, but those were kind of, those were the two. And it seems to me that the way that this was essentially kind of thought of is that if they go the cop route, that's going to be like more stable interaction with the palimpsest. but they have like less control over what's going on, what information they get, how it's handled, right? The cops are going to like take away the shit from them. Maybe they'll get information, maybe they won't, but it'll be safe and it'll be stable. And then they can go the AV club nerd route, and that's more risky, right? It's you don't have the stability of expertise, but you have the benefit of kind of not deception, but you have the benefit of like stealth, essentially. You don't have to get the establishment involved. That is totally well and good. Totally well and good. However, I think I kind of lost that a little bit when we went into the AV club and Biz was essentially like, yeah, I can do this. I just need better equipment. And he established pretty explicitly of like, I could try to do it with the AV club equipment here, but I don't know if it'll go well. And that whole scene just kind of, for me, it served as an implication that Biz's skills would not be the risky factor here. It would be the equipment, right? It kind of implies backwards that the original decision point was against like stable equipment that they don't have as much control over versus unstable equipment where they have more control, right? It's only like one nerd that they have to convince. That sort of crystallized into what the decision was. And now we got here and we got the good equipment, presumably. And then Biz, like, just straight fucks it up. It feels very unexpected. I'm like, what? And the fact that it was tied to not only a role, but a bunch of roles. It all just feels very odd. It feels like, it feels like Brennan thinking that this was too easy and like wanting to and like improving some challenge into it, especially given that like the characters didn't have to make any checks with Gorgug's parents. Would have been an easy place to put in some like challenge or risk into this, while in my head not like, you know, changing any of the previous decision points. They could have added in some like deception with Bubbles, with Biz's mom, to be like, what are you doing with all this? And yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to see exactly how bad this goes, because if this goes really bad, I don't know. But if it's more of like, you know, an aesthetic, you know, bump in the road, then whatever. But yeah, I'll see how it finishes out. Let's see.
Like passes, right? From
Bardic inspiration?
or no, like the hall passes.
I can write as a whole pass.
Can we just like get you out of school tomorrow and work on this like nonstop?
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, cool. We should do that.
Can I also I'm just gonna come in from outside. I'm gonna head back out there and continue pacing like a German Shepherd, but real quick, Bardic inspiration. Okay.
See, he says, thank you so much.
Okay, it's not a thing. It's not a thing.
Why did you wink though?
But she
It's
also
how I
winked.
give. It's
She
how
winked
I.
at me just the other day. I was like, oh,
I felt the same thing.
I'm gonna go ahead, guys, and we're gonna move through a little period of downtime. You guys effectively get.
Absolutely. Okay, man, that was strange. I don't it's hard for me to analyze because I don't even really know what Brennan was going for there, or like why that happened. My speculative thought is that Brennan somewhat realized that it was a bit too easy, and that. That's the only thought that I can come to that kind of rationalizes it, is that Brennan realized it was a bit too easy and wanted to introduce a bit of additional challenge, or maybe not even challenge, but just cost. Introduce you literally have Biz almost directly saying it, of cost versus risk, right? Speedy versus fast, but dangerous. And that's cool. That's totally cool. It's just it's a bit interesting to me that it happened after we seemingly did the very risky thing. And my only thought is that he might have been thinking while he was doing that, and that the dice were simultaneously kind of a vamping tool, like a delaying tool to give him time to think, as well as potentially a sort of guide for himself. Because I'll do that sometimes. Like I will, if I'm not so sure on a decision, I'll roll a die. But it just seems, the whole thing's just very, very, very odd to me. It seemed like maybe something went a little bit unexpectedly, and that was a bit of improv awkwardness. Because everything, like if we just excise the part of like a bunch of rolls, and then Biz is like, uh-oh, I messed something up. Like if we just cut that part out, everything else about the scene makes total sense to me. Total sense. So strange. I don't know if anyone has any ideas as to like kind of how, or I guess if anyone has any thoughts on like upside to including that, right? Like in a world where that is like all purposeful, that is all, kind of like the intended flow of the scene. What are some benefits there? Because I can't really land on any. I can only land on rationalizations where it wasn't necessarily purposeful for that to be a little bit awkward, because it was awkward in my head. I'd be interested to know. I'd be very interested to hear any thoughts, because that scene felt very, very strange.
All right, you guys head on in. You guys all head on in. You guys just head on in.
Does anybody else?
I'm good.
You have to go to the depths of the depths to find
Hey, brother,
it.
help me out on your way in. What do you say?
75.
Yeah, I'll do it.
That's an insane amount of money, baby.
You'll just give. You didn't even like that guy.
That would like pay my rent for so long.
Can you just buy my
Is that your
apartment?
money?
You see that this guy looks up, and you see he looks down at his
I was
big.
trying to
He says,
help you out.
"Sister, you just saved my fucking ass." Let me tell you something.
You
See,
know
he
what?
pets the
One
guy.
bouncer to another.
You see, he goes, Rover, we're taking you to the vet, buddy.
Why are we awing? I paid for that dog to go to the vet. It's a good thing.
Yeah, we're all. It's a good awe.
You
Can
guys-
I give one of my bardic inspirations to the dog?
No! This is how we were before the corn episode, and the corn babies
This is
kicked our
very
ass.
reminiscent of
He
the
has
corn.
an episode. I need to know that he's got an
No.
extra D6.
Remember, Adine used all her spells before we got into combat
That
on
is
joke
worth it, and I
things?
don't regret it.
I will not regret this.
Two people died.
I hope
you
we're not,
guys,
at least.
you guys move through the black pit. You come in. There's a little merch table. You see that all the merch up at the merch table.
Okay, I just want to call out when I was talking about the corn episode, when I was talking about the incident, I directly called out. I was like, hey, I get it. They fucked around a little bit. They were jumping on tables, They were not being the most tactical players, but a lot of them are new. And I will die on this hill still, that players should not die in the first combat because they do not know what they are getting into. Even if you talk about lethality and whatever in session 0, they don't get it until at least one combat. And case and point, they get it now. They've had multiple combats, and they now understand the potential lethality that Brennan is bringing into this. And they're now like, oh man, maybe we should, like, you can hear Allie, them saying like, hey, guys, maybe we should save our resources. Now, they can still choose not to. And that does shift it over into like some amount of player responsibility if things go bad. But this is exactly what I'm talking about when I said that first combat was not their fault. Now, if they lose this next combat because they're low on resources, maybe not 100% their fault, but I will definitely assign more blame to them. But you can hear it now. They're actually thinking through it. Like, Emily Axford is like, yeah, I understand what happened with the corn cooties. I'm still going to give up my bardic inspiration. And hey, more power to her if she wants to do that.
Whoa, yeah, that's so interesting. I feel like, sometimes I take a break from praying for 4 hours every night, and that's like every Tuesday. And with those 4 hours, I just end up doing great works.
She leans forward and kisses you on the mouth.
Duh! Oh, actually, I don't kiss.
You see that she suddenly goes, she goes to you and says, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
I know, I freaked out and Looking throughout the bar, you see all over people hit the deck, their clothes rend as their bodies start to change. You see that one of the people making out in a corner goes as two fangs come out of their head. And I'm gonna need everybody here to roll initiative.
We gotta take out that DJ! We gotta take out that DJ.
The beat drops, all of you draw weapons, and we'll start this battle next time on Fantasy High. Rage! This room is filled with people hulking out into werewolves. Just, Sasha! Lord of Whispers calls for the blood hunt! The DJ has a rotting, necrotic face covered by a paltry illusion.
How breakable does that glass look?
Honestly, dude, pretty breakable.
A nat one!
This is insane.
Shit.
The DC for contracting lycanthropy is 12. I'll tell you that right off the bat. The lower means
I'm a werewolf.
go ahead and roll in the box of doom.
All right, gang, that's it for today.
Oh. There were werewolves and vampires there? Werewolves and vampires. I mean, Johnny wasn't a vampire. What? Oh man, I don't know what the fuck is going on, dude. That's crazy. And also, she currently seems to be transforming somewhat involuntarily. What is going on? That is not what I was expecting. I thought for a second, I was like, I fucking see what's happening here. Because she was like, oh, bad thing happened to me. Obviously now, contracting lycanthropy. But I was originally like, oh, bad thing happened to me. It's, she got, contacted by the same patron, by Garthalax or whatever his name was, gargling mouthwash, I think, the insatiable. I 100% thought this was going to be looped into the patron. But it's werewolves and vampires. Both creatures of the night. And Zane is here. And Zane is the contact of Johnny Spells. And earlier, I theorized that Zane was a fall guy. I thought that he was going to be the fall guy for Coach Daybreak. They were like pinning it on him. Coach Daybreak could just be working with Zane. If Zane was working with Johnny, but that would imply that Zane has the connection to Johnny, and they both have the connection to the T, which is connected to Eggfort and Ostentatia, not necessarily Daybreak. That is the interesting thing about this, right? The corn and the dark magic therein all seem to have this connection to the dark magic, the fallen angels, warlocks, Nightmare King, etc., etc. But as far as we know, we don't have any connection between the T and like Penny Luckstone or the other girls that have gone missing or the palimpsest. But then we have this connection back with Zane and Coach Daybreak. If Zane and Coach Daybreak are just, if they're just working together, then that whole scene is frankly even easier because they can work together to like knock the book out of her hand. And also, wait, let me just rewind a second. Did I not catch that? Where does he say about Zane?
Look out into the dance floor and see Zane Darkshadow, who was the kid who knocked the book out of your hand on day one. This like
the kid who knocked the book out of your hand day one. Okay, on one hand, that is just a very easy way to describe him. That is like the most notable thing that we know him from. What a twisted web we weave. Wait. Penny isn't Penelope. Penny and Penelope are different. Penny Luckstone is gone. So yeah, Penelope Neverpetal's totally separate. Wait a minute. Sam and Penelope know. They're in on it. My assumption is that people can be used in the palimpsest to maybe generate these pages, the page that animated the goo monster. But I still wonder why they think that the page failed. Why Zane thinks that. Oh, but I'm seeing the line. All right, I've been theorizing for a while. I've got a whole conspiracy board started to, be made. I have a lot of ideas about what might be going on. I actively realized that Penelope knows about the palimpsest. Hadn't crossed my mind before right now, but it is totally implied by the fact that this is Ostentatia's note, and she was listening to Penny and Sam talk in the bathroom. So something's going on with fucking Penelope. The T and the dark magic, the page that Zane mentions in the text, like, why does Zane think that the page didn't work? I can't tell, because it seems to have really fucking worked to me. Also, there's something going on with the fact that, like, they talked about how a ward over the school was broken, and, like, the conjurations shouldn't have been possible, and Adine is directed by her sister to steal a book from the restricted section. There's a very conveniently left out book on the front desk that is about the wards around the school. And then instead of having Adine put the book back, Golden Horde asks Kristen to take it to Eggfort? Why? What? why did he do that? So I am honestly more confused about what is happening now than I was at the beginning of the episode, which I feel like, if anything, this episode should have closed up some gaps for me with like learning, more about Zane. Nothing of the sort. It has purely opened up questions for me. But it was really cool. It was really cool overall. A few moments that I didn't quite jive with, but I'm sure that we'll talk about that more during the pre-stream. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in episode 6. Goodbye.